Ma'am, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay. So I think
Let
Ria has
me do, yes,
Ria
let
has
me do that. Let me do that. Yes, ma'am. Now try once.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, it is visible.
Also, we are live on YouTube now.
Okay.
So we have participants joining in on YouTube as well.
All right. All right. Yeah. So we have, I think, Bharti ma'am and Shweta ma'am is there. Bharti ma'am, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good to see you online after a long time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining. I think Shweta ma'am is not there. We can see her camera, but she's not there. So Bharti ma'am, we have other panelists also. We were just sharing, and Taru ma'am is from TERI. Ila ma'am is intake education. She is responsible for sending students abroad studies. Nikhil sir is also a brand strategist and with us. And Shweta ma'am is also from US and she has joined us just now, and we can see her now. And Ria is my colleague and she would be supporting us from outside.
Hello, Bharti
Wonderful.
ma'am.
Yeah, hello Ria, and wonderful meeting everyone, Taru, Ila, and everyone. It's absolutely a pleasure.
Nice meeting you too, Dr. Bharti.
Students from Bangladesh are also joining now.
Yes, we have students from Ambala, students from Punjab, we have from Tamil Nadu, we have from Ambala, and then Delhi, then we have from Karnataka and Telangana. Most of the states, even from Dehradun, we have Maharashtra. Most of the states of India, we have students joining in. Although we have got the participation of 1,100 students, so but I don't know how many of them would participate. So half of them would be here. 101 has already joined, and half will be in YouTube live. We are having that all as well. We'll start in 5 minutes from now. Hello, ma'am. How are you? Shweta, ma'am. Welcome
Hello,
to
Rekha,
the
ma'am.
session.
I'm doing well, thank you. So it's just 5:30 a.m. here, so I was setting up.
Oh, it's so early for you.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I couldn't see the
Oh no,
difference of that. All right.
no worries. Happy to be here.
You had tea?
I'm just gonna get a glass of water.
Okay, okay,
And
okay. Do that. Please do that.
thank
Do that. We'll wait. I'm sure we have 2 more minutes left.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. All the students, those who have joined here with us on YouTube, I think live streaming is also there. And plus here also 179 or 180, they're increasing number. I can see them, they have joined. So welcome students and the panelists. Thank you for joining us today. And this is our second learning session. So I'll give you a brief why we started this summer program. At Climate Reality Project India, we have this Green Campus program, which is an audit program. Plus, we have the teachers training program also, which is also part of the Green Campus program. So, what I do is I take care of Green Campus program, and all round the year, I tell the students, teachers to send me the audit forms, fill it up, and do this, and I just guide them around. But summer is the time when most of the schools are closed. Students are relatively free. So we tell them, last time also we had some competitions and all. This time we thought, why not green career? Because that is where we need the young generation. That is where, and some of them, maybe those who are passionate about the wildlife, enthusiastic about climate change or sustainability, can take up those roles. So that's why we have these sessions. These sessions last time also we had in June, all 4 Saturdays. Now also we have all 4 Saturdays of June, this program. So this is our second learning session of online summer camp of Green Career. So I welcome all our panelists for today's session. Ms. Balodi, Ms. Taru Mehta, Ms. Shweta Arora, Dr. Bharti Chibber, and Mr. Nikhil Kamath. In our previous sessions, we built participants' knowledge around green economy, green career, green courses with our expert. Hope, I think students, you all have learned from the skilling sessions also on resume building and profile building from Mr. Shivam Singh as well. We will start our session with our first speaker, Ms. Taru Mehta. So let me give you an introduction of Ms. Taru Mehta. I have a long, I think, relationship I will say with Taru. So I invite Ms. Taru Mehta to address this August gathering. But Ms. Taru Mehta is an ESD practitioner with more than 14 years of professional experience. She has her forte in program management, capacity building, and training programs on environment, leadership, and sustainability for school and college students, both in urban and rural in the age bracket of 10 to 35 years. She has been instrumental in developing training modules on environment, sustainability, children's workbook on waste management, IEC material, and online MOOC to reach out to the target group in the domain of waste, water, sanitation, and hygiene, climate change, and energy. In TERI, she has worked on several capacity building programs, and I was also one of them, and a participant in your program, ma'am. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rekha ma'am, for such a warm welcome. It's actually a pleasure to be here and to get connected with you and to see the kind of work you've been doing. It's really, really commendable. And I'm actually, feeling proud because we nurtured something together. And now, though we are in our own spaces, but all the programs and all the activities that we do have a life of its own, and I'm so proud that you are behind it, and we co-created certain things in the past, which actually led us to where we are today.
True.
So thank you so much for having me here. I'll be talking about green jobs particularly and how STEM education is helpful. So can I share my screen, please? Give me a moment. And in fact, I'm not sure if Shweta will remember, but Shweta was also part of our programs in the past. And she's
also alumni of TERI.
Yeah, she participated in Yuva Meet, and now when I see her at a pedestal already, it really makes me feel happy that whatever I'm doing, I'm doing the right thing. So coming to the
Taru ma'am, if I may interject, yes, of course I remember, and to be honest, it's a big honor to be at the same panel as you. I learned a lot from all those programs I was involved in with TERI, and again, it's an honor to be here with you.
And Shweta ma'am has joined from US, and the time I think is 5:30 there,
wow,
early morning.
Nice.
She's there with
Incredible.
us. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Incredible. So just stop my video just for the bandwidth issue, and I'll be talking about the topic which is given to me. So STEM education for green jobs is my topic. And quickly to start with, I would like to bring to you all notice what are green jobs actually. So ILO defines green jobs as decent jobs that contribute to preserve or restore the environment, whether they are in any sectors. Now, why do you think there is a need to preserve or restore the environment? I mean, I will not go so much into the detail because I am sure all of you are already well versed with the kind of problems the humanity is facing in terms of climate change, both on the technical front and also on the social front. But with the kind of policies that have come into place, it is very, very critical for the mankind to understand that green jobs are very important, because to implement those policies, to implement the kind of infrastructure that is required to preserve the environment, we would need green jobs. Now, there are certain traditional sectors that the ILO has defined, such as manufacturing and construction. There are other newly formed sectors which are not so new, but yeah, not as old as the other sectors, like the renewable energy and energy efficiency sectors. Now, these sectors are very, very emissions oriented. They produce a lot of emissions if we adopt traditional means of working. But when it comes to also, looking at the share of these sectors in the GDP, it's pretty high. So which is why there is a need to look at these sectors, transform it into such functions where the emissions are controlled. And to implement those functions, we need people who can do those functions. So which is why green jobs we require, and that is how ILO defines it. Now, these jobs include the technicians educated through technical institutions and the business managers, marketers, financiers, engineers, etc. Now, I would request all the students to please focus on the underlined words here. Those are critical words, and that is where you would want to use these terminologies for your future course selection and your future opportunities that comes through you. So technicians, of course, would be people who have done some bit of STEM education in their 11th, 12th, or even before that. So I'll come to what is STEM education in my upcoming slides. So this is what ILO defines green jobs as. Now, why there is a need for green jobs? As I've told you all in my first slide also, that the kind of policies that have been made now, and especially with the advent of Paris Agreement, which was signed in 2015, all the nations of the world, most of the nations of the world have NDCs, which are called nationally determined contributions to control the emissions, to control the per country emissions. All the countries have their own targets, and they also know by when they can achieve those targets. So I will be talking specifically about India, that in COP26 last year, our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has promised the world that by 2070, India will become, carbon neutral, which means the emissions that are there currently will not be there. So now to control these emissions, our functions, our industries, our all the sectors which emit, carbon emissions have to be made in such a way that they do not emit anything. And for that, we need green jobs. So which is why green jobs is a buzzword these days. And there is a whole lot of opportunities in these sectors, and in coming years, more so, because imagine it's only 7 years from the Paris Agreement, and people are already talking about all these aspects. Though this is not something new, but with the advent of INDCs and with the signing of Paris Agreement, green job has become all the more popular and all the more, a sector which has a lot of opportunities. So, and Indian policy changes are also happening. You would know the kind of renewable energy programs that are being run in the country. And we would need, people, students from that background, from STEM education background. So how do green jobs help save the environment? It helps people help the industries to improve upon energy and raw material efficiency. It strives to eliminate greenhouse gas emissions, waste and pollution also. It tries to control in some way or the other, protect and restore ecosystems as well as human health, and support adaptation to the effects of climate change. Now, green jobs, of course, right now, we are at a stage where our economy is linear, though we are talking about that sooner than later, our economy will also become a circular economy, wherein whatever goes into manufacturing and whatever is produced as waste is further recycled, and there's very minimal waste that comes out of any kind of manufacturing. So now all of these features, once made into a policy framework and once it's implemented, imagine the kind of jobs that the sectors will create. So this is how a green job will help. And to do the green job, we want skilled laborers, we want skilled employees, and we need green skills for them. Now, what are green skills? Green skills are something that helps that helps the organization to adapt to products and services that helps in controlling environmental degradation or climate change. So these are skills that will help the companies to control their emissions, to control the waste generation, and to control all sorts of pollution that is occurred by that particular industry. And the kind of skills that are required for doing the green jobs, I have broken it down into 3 aspects. And this particular reference is also being done from an ILO document. The first in general is the sustainability literacy, which is in the form of awareness and action competence. Sustainability literacy would mean that as a human being, you understand what is sustainable development and the difference between what we consume and what we produce, what we have, what we don't have, so basically it's like a nuanced understanding, a citizen's understanding about sustainability. Secondly, occupation specific skills, which will be predominantly very, very industry specific. And if it is industry specific, obviously there will be some kind of qualifications that will be required for all of you to apply to that particular industry. And where STEM skills comes very handy, because most of the jobs, most of the green jobs these days, which are into different sectors, has to do something with analytics, something with engineering, either it has to do something with some kind of innovation. So, STEM education comes very, very handy. And the third set encompasses leadership and management skills, which of course, goes through in all kinds of jobs, not just green jobs, but these skills are something which are handy even if you're not working, frankly speaking. So these are life skills, these are core competency skills that one needs in any professional sphere. Of course, it will also come handy when it comes to any kind of green job. So what is STEM education? Very, very simple definition is that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And the whole idea here is that those students can opt for these subjects in their, senior secondary classes. But then having an edge with these subjects is only happens when you enter a domain and the entire education becomes interdisciplinary, where your education is project based and the learnings that happens through a lot of application oriented approaches. Like, say for example, you are given a situation and you are asked to come up with a solution for that using these 4 core subjects. So which is where STEM comes into picture. Second is the soft skills, which I just spoke about. These are core skills which a person needs even if he or she is working or not working. And if even if you are in any other sector, these skills are important, whether it is problem solving attitude that you have, or finishing your particular assignment which is given to you, because in office spaces you see that people, there are no finishers. They just take something and then it's just hanging out there in the middle. So even something as simple as finishing an assignment is also a skill. So all these things, public speaking, professional writing, even teamwork. The largest, when you come into these sectors, now all of you must be college students or in your senior classes in schools. When you go into your offices, you will see how teamwork is important, which of course in our schooling and in our colleges, nobody pay much attention to. But let me tell you that, you can achieve anything, you can achieve all kinds of education and qualifications from your schools, colleges, and from the experience that you get. But the core skills are innate, and these are acquired by thinking, reflecting, and acting consciously on all these aspects. So teamwork, is something which is very, very important and takes you miles if you are in any kind of working space. Similarly, all other core skills are important. Intercultural fluency is also very important, because when you are in office space, it's very important to respect the other person, the other basically. So the other, when I say the other, it could mean, people from other nationalities, from other religions, from any kind of color background. So basically that intercultural thing is so important. Otherwise, of course, you'll have your own spaces to work, and then the experience would be very, very different. So yeah, so amalgamating the two skills, the STEM skills as well as the soft skills, would make life easier when it comes to applying for green jobs. Now, what kind of sectors are there when it comes to looking for green jobs? So these are some of the 8 sectors that are identified. These sectors, as I said in the beginning, there are few sectors which are high on emissions, but also there is a significant percentage of contribution in the GDP. So the governments, of course, wouldn't want that, though these sectors are very emission oriented, but they wouldn't want to leave it from doing business. Yeah, because you also have to develop economically. So these sectors are important in terms of controlling the emissions, some of them, not all, but some of them, controlling the emissions, plus also, enhancing the share in gross domestic product, GDP of the country. So now understand from all these sectors, of course, agriculture is one of the sectors where emissions are high, and where in India, a lot of traditional mediums are still being used. And there are very state specific, state specific machinery behind implementing, agricultural activities. So few states are quite high on technological front, while few states lack all of those. So it's a very state driven subject. And imagine the kind of green jobs that will be available in this sector, maybe, to increase the soil efficiency, or to basically, do some kind of land management, or maybe organic farming. So, there could be different sectors in these particular sectors where green jobs can be looked at. And imagine the kind of background that students can come from. So say, for example, if one student wants to go for organic farming, what should the background of that child be? So that child would be, maybe in his or her 11th and 12th standard, he must have opted for biology. And then probably in her graduation, he can take some kind of agricultural studies. There is a BTech in agriculture also. And then, of course, there are different programs when it comes to, doing the masters. So, that kind of ability to foresee a sector and then work backwards towards your career would be one good thing to do. And in each of these sectors, there would be subsectors where you could study about and see how your background or how your subjects can help. And whether, you can also, brainstorm whether what I am saying is right or not, whether STEM is really helpful in all of these sectors, or even a person who's not opted for science and math subjects can be into these sectors. So there are few opportunities like that also, which also cater to having being in these sectors without STEM education. But of course, STEM education do play a major role in these sectors. So these are some breakup of subsectors that I just gave an example about agriculture. So, subsectors could be natural pesticides, biopesticides, and efficient land management, aquaculture, etc. Then sorry, just a second. Yeah, then in energy resources industry, you could have researchers happening in solar, wind, geothermal, and biomass, etc. Then how do you make all of these sectors energy efficient? So there are different subsectors into it. You all can study this. You can even further research on these subjects and see how this session could be helpful in some way. Then construction, what do you do in subsectors when it comes to construction? We talk about green buildings. We talk about how during construction there should be no waste, or waste is construction waste is managed in some in a proper sustainable way. Then how about increasing the efficiency while retrofitting? So there are lots and lots of subsectors in these particular domains, and one can look at these. Again, transportation, how do you make it more efficient and how do you make it green? How do you basically bring in the elements of public transport, linking it with technology and linking it with people friendly mobile apps, etc. Then waste management, manufacturing, and of course, government and regulatory administration. Now, one would ask, that all these consultancy and regulatory kind of assignments wouldn't have, it would be a mix of both STEM education as well as the others. But let me tell you that, all these aspects, all these domains do need an analytical mind. And we need to foresee, we need to model what will happen like 20 years from now or 30 years from now. So it's always helpful that a person with that ability to think beyond the present would be helpful. And of course, I talked about STEM education. One thing I forgot all of you to tell, that nowadays even STEAM education is very popular, and big researchers, the educationists are talking about STEAM education. Now, STEAM education stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So how do subject of art and arts and science, are brought together, and then certain things are achieved? So that is a question which is still under research. We still need a lot of transdisciplinary measures to bring our sectors to that level, that we have students from such qualification, such education backgrounds. Now, what are the challenges involved in actually opting for green jobs and making it implementable in our country? So according to ILO, the green transition can generate millions of jobs. So right now, most of the economies are our economy, especially Indian economy, is at a phase of transition. We are trying to develop a lot of green mechanisms. Like I said, that the energy sector is at a boom, like in a big way. And it has direct connection to the kind of INDCs that we have adopted, which will further get reported globally. So all of this transition is fine, and there will be millions of jobs that will be available in these sectors. But the precondition is that will we get the relevant skills and trainings for our youth? Because currently, if you see that the kind of jobs that are required, I don't know how much of thinking is also going at the back end. So some of the challenges that we foresee in implementing this huge opportunity for our youth is that there should be awareness of green job at all tiers of implementation. And now when I say all tiers, I mean there should be awareness generation even at the policy level, policymakers level. And then, of course, towards all the levels, like all the tertiary levels also. So whether it is our school management, or teachers, or etc. So policy level changes if happen, then of course, even changes at the ground level we can foresee in coming years. Then research on demand for skilled labor. Now, as I said, that though we all know that these sectors would be booming up, the sectors that I just spoke about, and there will be jobs created, but how many of them will be created? And is there a demand forecast already? And do we know how many graduates in so and so year will be there, and will they be getting jobs in so and so sector? So these are few questions that we need, that as youth you need answers to. And of course, educational curriculum, though there is National Education Policy 2020, and it is very, very holistic in itself, but implementation of it is also a state-driven subject again. States will decide as to how they can implement the new education policy. So all of these things will take some time, and and then probably you'll see the light of the day in the coming years. To say educational inequalities in India, of course, it's quite prevalent. Still date, there are villages, there are rural areas where education has not reached. Socially, we are looking at how we can make education available to all. Though there is e-for-all and all of that, those schemes are there. But when it comes to gender differences between in having higher education, then of course women are always lagged behind, especially in rural areas. So these are few challenges that we see in transitioning to green jobs and to transitioning to having new opportunities in place. Though there are ample opportunities, but yes, there are few challenges that all of us foresee. But nevertheless, I hope that this brief presentation, this introductory presentation, has helped you at least identify the sectors where STEM education can be a boom. And thank you. This is it from my side. And I look forward to any questions that may come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thanks for introducing us to STEM and STEAM education, Paris Agreement, Indian policies, circular economy, green skill, leadership and management skill, life skills, soft skills, and their challenges. Thank you, ma'am. We have question and answers at the end. You have to stay with us. I'll just invite our next panelist, that's Dr. Bharti Chibber. Dr. Bharti Chibber is teaching in University of Delhi, India for more than 17 years. She is a well-known academic, author, socio-political analyst, and an environmentalist working extensively, writing and speaking in India and abroad for many years in the field of international relations, foreign policy, sustainable development goals, gender, health issues, climate change, waste management, biodiversity conservation. Dr. Bharti Chibber is a climate reality leader, honorary national coordinator at the Climate Reality Project India, a meritorious scholar. Dr. Bharti Chibber has more than 150 published books, research paper, articles in national and international journals and mass media to her credit. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rekha, for that very generous introduction. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be here, to meet you, wonderful co-panelists, and most of all, the wonderful students and the teachers who have joined us today. Well, I have been, as Rekha just mentioned, that I have been speaking and visiting different parts of the world. But I must say, the most pleasure that I get is to speak to my own students in my own countries and the teachers who have done such a wonderful job of training them for a better future. And as we are talking about green career and green jobs, then making them better environment-friendly citizens of the country. And as Ria told us today that we have some students and some people from Bangladesh also joining us today. So I think that's absolutely amazing. So congratulations and kudos to you, Rekha, for organizing an international event where we have participants from different parts of the world and South Asia especially. And also you'll be happy to know, and also our participants from Bangladesh, that I'm one of the pioneers who actually spoke about South Asia climate change and environmental problems in South Asia almost 2.5 decades back, when no one was talking about these issues. Internationally also, that very well as they are talking about. South Asia, of course, was not even there in the thinking of the people. But I was talking about all the problems that we are facing. So today, of course, I had a very long PowerPoint presentation, which I was planning to share. And then I realized that I have about 15 odd minutes to speak to you. So what I'm going to do, perhaps I'll keep my PowerPoint presentation for the next time when I have about half an hour or 1 hour. Today, I'll be just talking about some very important pointers, very important issues that we should be talking about in terms of green careers for a sustainable future. Now, I'll begin with something which is very, very common, which I'm sure all the students, all the people talk about, that when we talk about climate change or climate emergency, the first thing that people say that we are overstraining the earth capacity, and we have to ensure that we leave enough behind for our future generation. Now, this is very important. One, because our students are the future generation that we are talking about, because you have to go for green careers for a sustainable future. But I have a problem with this. If we are going to talk about the future, then we have to do something in the present. So let us talk about the present generation. Let us talk about the present people so that we have a better present for a better future. Rather, I should say better present for a best future. So I think this is something which is very, very critical and very, very important. Now, coming to the green careers that I have, and as Rekha told me to especially focus on Delhi. Of course, I'll be talking about Delhi, but I'll also take it a broader perspective in terms of other parts of the country and a little bit on South Asia, very briefly in about next 10 minutes. So first thing I would say that when we talk about the whole idea or the whole issue of green jobs, then as India has already committed to go net zero by 2070, which we have been talking about for a very long time. The good news is that we're going to have about 50 million new jobs in the climate sector. Now, when you hear the figure 50 million, it sounds amazing, absolutely amazing figure. We're talking about not one, not two, but 50 million new jobs. And these jobs are in different arenas. They are in terms of green career, but they're in different areas. They can be in the teaching profession, they can be in terms of innovation hub, they can be in terms of startups, they can be in terms of business incubators, research and development centers. So we have these jobs that are waiting for our present, or rather our students who have joined us and who perhaps will join us next time. Now, important thing is that our students need to be aware. They need to be prepared. They need to have the required education, required knowledge, required training for these jobs, and they should have the passion to go green. I just read in, of course, a question and answers will be taken later on, as Eric has just mentioned, but I just read one of the Q&A where a student has asked about doctors and surgeons. Then I'll begin with this. Doctors and surgeons is very fine. Just take the example what happened during the COVID. During the COVID, health sector was strained. And one of the important things during the COVID was the PPE kits. Now, these kits were very important, used by doctors, surgeons, and other hospital people to save the patients, or at least try to save them. However, it had negative impact in terms of plastic waste and worse impact in terms of hazardous waste management. So our present generation, the students, perhaps they can work on something where we can have such equipments required for the medical profession, required by the medical professionals, who can be disposed of properly, who are not generating or adding to the hazardous waste. So I think that is the whole idea of innovation. That is the whole idea of startups. That is the whole idea of the concept of the Make in India or Skill India. Now let us go further. There was a wonderful presentation by Taru, Mehta before me. Let us talk about the new education policy. Now, new education policy 2020 is kind of a watershed in what's going to happen from this year onward. Because I see that most of our students, they perhaps may be in 12th or maybe going to 12th or 11th for that matter, because from the new education policy, we have 11th and then we have the university education. So here, the best part in the new education policy is that there is amalgamation. Now, these studies are not divided into what you call the watertight compartments of art, sciences, humanities, or commerce. The new education policy is not only holistic. The best part of the new education policy is it gives good number of importance, or rather I should say, it gives enough importance to the environmental education or sustainable development right from the schools, and then of course at the college level. And different state and the center universities in different parts of the country have already started working on it way back in 2021, immediately after the new education policy came out. And just to give you an example, since I saw that some of the students are from Karnataka, then even in Karnataka, since the state governments are working with the center in tandem, the Karnataka government has proposed in 2021 itself, something which is a very interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach of the new education policy. They have proposed a course on environmental sciences or environmental studies. And the best part of this course that they have as part of the education policy, the course is called environmental science. It is not that the student who has studied only sciences in schools, they can take up the course. You can be from any background, since the transition will take some time to new education policy completely. The best part of this course is it not only talks about ecology or environmental pollution or environmental chemistry, it also talks about biodiversity. It also talks about natural resource management. It also talks about the impact of this course on society. It also talks about global warming and climate change, how we as individuals or we as students can transform it or change it. So that means already the governments of different states or the universities for that matter, they have started working. And you may be from any field till now, you have equal chances of doing any course in the university which is dealing with environmental sciences or environmental education, and be ready, because these courses are not only academic as it used to be in the past. Now there is a lot of stress on collaboration between the college or the university and the industry. For example, in the university also, we are working on environmental issues or environmental papers for a very long time. In fact, to give you an example, way back, it was almost 15 years back, a new course was started, and the title of the course was Human Rights, Gender and Environment. That means what we are talking about, since I was part of the committee that worked on these things. So what we're talking about, we are relating the environment to the society, we are relating the environment to women, as well as we are talking about what is given in our constitution, what are our rights as citizens of India, because our constitution talks about right to life and a decent environment is very critical. So that shows that although new education policy 2020 highlighted multidisciplinary approach, but for a very long time, we have already got in terms of multidisciplinary approach, where we have actually the watertight compartments have been broken, or rather I should say also the glass ceiling has been broken to some extent. Also, another university that is, rather I should say IITs, which are there in different parts of the country. IITs, when you hear the word IIT, the first thing comes to your mind, we are talking about technology. Fair enough, we actually are talking about technology. But IIT Delhi has a course on environment development in society. And this course is not recently introduced, it is there for a long time. So that means you may be from any discipline. If you're very keen on pursuing your higher studies in the field of environment, you can do it from IIT also, not necessarily from any university like Delhi University or IP University or Jamia Millia, which are there in Delhi, or for that matter, any state university, because IITs are there in many states, including Delhi. So that means we have already talking about, or we have already adopted a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach. Now, another example, I just spoke about amalgamation or interjection or meeting point of university education and the corporate. In the new education policy, internship is very, very critical. You cannot finish your graduation without an internship. So that means in your internship, it is in your graduation, it has become mandatory. And this will add not only to your CV, but this will give you practical information. Because telling from my own example, I'm a researcher, I have been delivering lectures, I've been creating awareness, but I've also worked with various NGOs at the grassroots level in terms of tree plantation, in terms of waste management or manicures or vermicomposting and other things. So that means it is very important to have field experience, which these courses will provide you in terms of the new education policy that we have. And final 2 points before I wind up my today's speech, and of course I'll take up your Q&A and give you further information in that. Corporate social responsibility. Now, this is something very, very interesting, and I don't know how many of you actually know that India is one of the pioneer or one of the first countries where corporate social responsibility is actually mandated. We talk about other countries, they are doing good in different, especially the Western countries, we talk about them. They're doing well in different areas, but there are some lacunas also, there's some problems also. For example, compulsory corporate social responsibility is not there in many of the developed countries. But here we have these. And then these corporate social responsibility in a very layman's language so that our students can understand. I'm sure most of you are aware what exactly is corporate social responsibility is, but it is the responsibility of the industries, the manufacturers, that some part of their income they devote it for the social benefit. Now, social benefit can be in terms of education, it can be in terms of giving back to the society, and it can also be in terms of ensuring environment sustainability. So again, the new education policy, as I said, it talks about amalgamation of university education as well as the corporate sectors. So not only students will go and do internship, they will come to the university and also work towards the ensuring environment sustainability in terms of corporate social responsibility. And our final point that I would like to share today is when we have so many avenues, when we have so much information about education, about skill integration, when we have so many avenues that are there, then the whole idea of students can be in terms of going for innovation. I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Young students like you who have just completed their graduation or may perhaps be there in their graduation, can be from any stream, they can be from commerce, they can be from humanities. They have done such wonderful, wonderful innovations, not only in terms of startups, but innovations. Let me just talk about 2 or 3 very quick innovations, although there are many, many. When we talk about green vehicles, when we talk about e-vehicles, definitely we should have many more such vehicles. But one thing that comes is the battery. Now, batteries, we have this wonderful example from Mumbai where quick charging battery technology was generated by these 2 young engineering students. And they already have a good number of these corporates as their clients. Again, we have many, many such initiatives in terms of zero waste. We have many initiatives in terms of, as you may have heard about, Recycle Man of India, Dr. Vinesh Desai. You may have heard about Water Man. I mean, these are some innovation, or Ice Man of India, where this is a very interesting innovation because we know that the glaciers are already melting. So, because of the climate change. So, in order to ensure that they refreeze, the whole idea through an innovation. So that means you students, if you understand, if you take interest, you can be innovators also. It doesn't take too much to be an innovator. All you have to have is a passion and understanding and the right kind of education. And the final word that I leave the students with is there are many, many job avenues in terms of renewable energy. There are many job avenues in terms of environment protection, transportation, technology, business and administration. Because when we talk about green jobs, it's not only about engineering. You also need operation managers. You also need people who are going to resolve conflicts if there's an environmental conflict in terms of government or in terms of a corporate house. So that means you need conflict managers also in terms of environmental issues. So jobs are out there. All you have to do is dream big, think big, have the right training, right approach, and trust me, sky is not the limit. So I'll leave you with those.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for telling us about different courses available in various institutions and CSR. I'm sure our young audience are noting down all the points, and thank you, ma'am, for guiding our young learners. Students, if you have any question for ma'am and Taru ma'am, please write down in the chat box. We will take up in the QA session. But before that, we'll start. I'm going to invite my next speaker, Ms. Shweta Arora. Ms. Shweta Arora is a corporate sustainable environmental professional currently working in sustainable analyst at Paycheck Incorporation, Rochester, New York, USA. She is a recent graduate from MS Sustainable System from Rochester Institute of Technology, USA, and holds a MSc in Environmental Studies, Resource Management from TERI School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi, and a postgraduate diploma in Environment Law from National Law School of India, University, Bangalore. She has recently taken ESG and Impact Management for Enterprises training at Duke University, USA, and is a mentor with the Columbia University, USA. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rekha ma'am. Thanks to you and the Climate Reality India team for having me here. Given what Dr. Bharti and Taru ma'am shared earlier, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do justice, but I'm going to try my best. Do I have screen sharing rights, ma'am?
I think so. I'll just tell
yeah
to do that.
Yes, ma'am, you do.
Okay, all right. Can you all see my PowerPoint?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, let me put it in slideshow mode. All right, can you all see it now as like the big screen? All right. So I'm going to focus on preparing for green jobs with corporations. Just a little bit of statutory warning. The kind of roles and the areas that I'll cover here is not a comprehensive list. Like Taruma mentioned earlier, this area is growing so much. The whole, I would say, I am not even sure what's the right word. We can't say industry because these kind of jobs are spread across industries. This whole field is growing, has been growing and evolving over the last many years. So the few kinds of roles or areas for green jobs that I'll talk about here is not a comprehensive list, but is only a place to start your own research and start thinking and to start networking and having conversations with people who are already working in these areas. So Before I talk about how to prepare for jobs like these, I want to share a bit about how my career path has been. I was a science stream student in 11th and 12th grade. I studied chemistry for a BSc in chemistry for my undergraduate from University of Delhi. And if you're in I'm sorry, I'm going to be using the word high school a lot because over the last few years being here, I've started to use the term high school when I mean 11th and 12th grade. So that's what I mean when I use that phrase. So when you're in high school, or if you are just or if you're already in an undergraduate program, one of the key things you can do when you get into an undergraduate program from the start, or if you're already in one, is something that really helped me, which is get involved in small projects that happen in universities. It could be a project that one of your professors is doing. It could be a program like TERI organizes. They're Educating Youth for Sustainable Development team. Did I get that right, Taru ma'am? EYST, Educating Youth for Sustainable Development.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, so get involved in programs like those, and like Climate Reality here has a Green School program. So through these, you learn a lot of skills, all the soft skills that Taru ma'am talked about, which are going to help you not just in a job in the sustainability and environmental profession, but otherwise as well. And even if you don't decide to go in this field, the kind of skills that you learn during those little projects is that it will build a foundation for life. So I was involved in projects like these. I also attended a lot of youth conferences organized by TERI and other organizations, local and international, in the city of New Delhi. So through those initiatives, and another program where we learned, that program was called the Eco-Audit Program, where I'm not sure, it might be a little similar to the Green School program, ma'am. Rekha ma'am, I'm not too much aware of what this program is, but we would perform green audits of offices to identify sources of environmental impact and then make recommendations to the management of those offices on how to reduce their impact. And it was through that program that I learned that I was interested in the corporate side of environment. When people traditionally look at corporations, they see them as the bad guys, but we also have to see if corporations are creating a lot of impact, that also a lot of negative environmental impact, that also creates, on the positive side, a lot of opportunity to reduce and manage that environment, that impact. And also, corporations are also involved in, they basically design and create the products, create and market the products that we use on a daily basis, from the laptop we're all using right now to a bar of soap we would use to wash our hands. So I appreciated getting a chance to work in those organizations to create change from a very fundamental manner. And through that project, and exploring that area with my own research, and over the years, I slowly developed a passion for corporate sustainability. And that passion is what led me from just knowing, okay, this is what I want to go into, actually figuring out what exactly I want to do. So after my bachelor's, like Rekha mentioned, I have an MSc in environmental studies from TERI University, where while doing that program, I worked internship roles over the summer, and and a full semester with consulting organizations in India. And those projects, again, exposed me to more areas of the environmental field, because the most interesting thing, and I should say the most exciting thing about green jobs or the environmental and sustainability field is it's not restricted. It's not like a profession where if you get into, say, when you're 18 years old, you're just starting your undergrad, if you make a decision to get into a certain field, or say even if you do a graduate degree, you get into a certain area, you have to, that's the path you'll follow all your life. The most exciting thing about this profession, unlike all those others, is it's so big, it's so varied, it's so evolving, that if you like to learn and if you want to continue to evolve, as a professional and your career, there's so much. For a few years, you could be working in waste management in a corporation, and you could transition to policy making or policy analysis for waste management in a research think tank like TERI or another organization. So there's so much that you can do in that field, and that's what I really enjoy about working in this. So I completed my master's at TERI. I worked on regulation of environmental laws in the city of New Delhi. And then I moved to the US to pursue my master's in sustainable systems. And after graduating from there, I've been working as a sustainability analyst. So I work on corporate sustainability initiatives, greenhouse gas emissions reporting, sustainability reporting, ESG metrics reporting, etc. So that's a bit about my background and what I've enjoyed about the field so far. But as you all decide, consider the environmental and sustainability profession as a career option, a few questions that I would recommend you ask yourself is and again, you can't really answer these questions just like sitting here right now or even tomorrow. You'll need to do a lot of research to answer them. And those questions are, what is your interest area? Do you want to go into core environmental career? A lot of that can be technical, and I'll talk about some of those later. Do you want to be on the social side? Because it's not just core environmental jobs that are required. You just can't have people trying to reduce air pollution. There also have to be people that are looking at the impacts of air pollution from a social perspective. There are people who do studies on the impact. If the government takes an initiative, say, to reduce air pollution through something like improved cook stoves, what is the impact of an initiative like this? So there is, like I said, there's so much more than comes to our mind when we think of green jobs. So you have to first figure out what your interest area and what your interest area is, because that's gonna help you create this path for yourself. Because I'll talk about this a little later, but I really feel that if you want to work in this field, it's not a straight roadmap. It's not like you do this degree, and you're all set for life. It's not like that. It's a constantly evolving profession, and you have to have, if you want to have a successful and growing, a successful and fulfilling career, is that you should be interested in it. And for that, you need to figure out which of these areas you're interested in. So social could be through impact related jobs. And then the other is business related, which could be business with a little bit of environment, with a little bit of social, or a mix of both. You could take up internal roles, which is, I should say, more of a later in the career conversation. You could take up an internal role with a company, which helps you gain in-depth experience with one industry. That's the kind of job I'm doing right now. Or you could work with an advisory firm, like a consulting firm. There are environmental consulting firms that are pure play environmental, that just do environment related projects. And then there are other consulting firms like the Big Four and others that have environmental and climate change consulting as one of the services they offer. So the benefits of working in a firm like that is that you experience working with multiple industries. So you're working one project with a certain company, another with another one. So you're gaining a lot of experience that may not be as in-depth as you will gain by working a role that's internal with a company. So again, what you're interested in, and that could also move. Like for the first few years of your life, you could work in, say, advisory. Next, you could move to an internal role, etc. And then one of the other important things about a career in this field is, do you want a job that's very field-based? Most of them involve a lot of local, like within the city or town or district, or out of city, town, or out of country travel. So do you want a job that requires you to be on the field? There are some people who really enjoy that, or some people who enjoy that in certain phases of their career. Like when we are young, we have all the energy and we want to do a job like that. Or you enjoy a job that's more desk focused and you're more interested in strategic thinking, etc. So these are some of the questions that, especially if you are in, I should say, the latter two can be useful for you if you are already in an undergraduate program and you're looking for a job. Those are the kind of questions you could try to research and answer now for yourself. Now, I should say this slide is more for students who are still in high school. Like I said earlier, one of the best things about this whole field, this whole profession, is you're not restricted to one specific degree. You don't have to pursue a bachelor's in environmental engineering or environmental science to make a career on it. No, you do not need to do that. You could pursue engineering, mechanical, civil, environmental, chemical, electrical, and whichever one you choose, that'll provide you the fundamental skills for what application area of the whole environmental and sustainability profession you work in, because this whole profession is very application based. It's not, maybe in some terms it is fundamental sciences. There are all the fundamental sciences involved, but a lot of it is application based, applying the fundamental sciences and the fundamental engineering areas. So whichever kind of engineering you're interested in, mechanical, civil, environmental, there are different fundamental and application sciences programs. There's botany, zoology, chemistry, environmental studies. I, for one, am a graduate of a bachelor's in chemistry program. I would say business as well, finance, for example, and all the other business skills that you would learn in a business program. So if you pursue a bachelor's in say business, you could pursue a master's degree that specializes in sustainability, and you could take to a corporation these skills which are more on the strategic or the management side. There might, like, some people might disagree, say that environmental jobs are only if you have a technical degree in environment or sciences. From what I've learned, and I think what's really important is, if you just have people working environmental jobs in one department of the organization and you do not have people who are on the management side who understand these issues, then it's going to be difficult bringing the two together. So it's important that we have people, like, if you really want to create some positive impact on the environment, it's important to have people who are on the management, on the business, on the finance side as well, who understand environmental issues, who understand why this is important, and who have some of the skills that can help take this whole cause forward. And then, like I talked about earlier, social as well. So areas like political science, sociology, history. I've seen people working in the field, and they have working in the environmental and sustainability profession, and they have a background in different social areas as well. I think I sort of established this point earlier, but I'll say it again. Many green jobs need interdisciplinary skills. I can say that for myself. Every day is different for me, and I'm using a mix of, I'm using some of the basic science stuff, some of the mathematical stuff. I shouldn't say stuff, like some of the science and the mathematical skills, some of the, I should say, business skills that I've learned through a couple of elective courses that I took in college. And then there is also communication, etc. So it's a very, like many of these jobs will need a mix of these skills. And I think Taru ma'am established this point in much more detail in her presentation earlier. So what kind of degree programs can get you, like what kind of higher education can get you in, can help you get into this profession? So there are two ways. Given how employers expect people to have kind of education in India, most employers require some kind of higher education beyond undergrad, so some kind of a postgraduate degree, like a MSc, MTech, MBA, or some kind of a postgraduate certification. So in this slide, I want to talk about both degree certifications, degree programs versus certifications. So degree programs are more like formal postgraduate degree programs in MSc and MTech and MBA, etc., that help you develop knowledge in a broad spectrum of areas. Many jobs require it. I would say, I'm not sure if I should say most, but many jobs in India do require some kind of postgraduate education. And then there are schools, like if you're next, I should say my next question would be, what kind of universities? And again, I am used to using the word schools for universities, so that's something you'll also see throughout these presentations. So what kind of universities have these programs? Most universities, central, other government, private, have programs ranging from an MSc in environmental studies to some other programs, like an MTech in environmental engineering as well. There are also MBA programs these days that are focused on sustainability. There are also some, I'm not sure, I should say that in plural, but I'm definitely aware of one university or school which is just focused entirely on sustainability education, and that's TERI School of Advanced Studies. They have a campus in New Delhi. And so just one quick thing, if you all see anything that's in blue and highlighted, there are hyperlinks there. So maybe Rekha ma'am can share some of this information with you later. So this hyperlink here leads you to the website of TERI SAS. The other option is, if you don't want to invest full 1 or 2 years full time into a postgraduate degree program, the other option is a certification. Now, unlike postgraduate degree programs, which give you broad knowledge across different related areas of that field, say a degree in environmental studies would help you develop knowledge in water, waste management, air quality, environmental management, etc. So, but, and that would be deep knowledge. You will learn a lot of things. It's a full program that requires full-time effort and participation. The other is certifications. Programs like these usually teach you, help you learn certain specific skills A lot of them are distance learning based. So if you're already doing a job, you can take them up part-time. And then depending on the job, these certifications, or like depending on the certain skill, many of them may be enough on their own or may be required by employers in addition to postgraduate degree programs. So some employers for certain jobs might say, you can have an undergrad in this kind of area, and if you have this certain certification, that's enough for this job. Or some could say an undergrad, a postgraduate degree in a certain area related to the environmental or sustainability field. And plus, if you could have a certain certification. So that's what you would see if you look for jobs. Now, there are different types of certifications. There are some certifications that help, that are required for roles for auditing compliance with standards. Auditing, in simple words, would be checking if a company is following a certain standard. So ISO 14001 is a standard for environmental management. And then OSHA's 18001 is a standard for occupational health and safety. So a person who takes up this certification would be working with a third-party organization, going to companies and checking if they're really following this standard and helping and providing inputs on that. And then there are other kind of certifications that are condensed higher education for specific skills. For example, these are usually called postgraduate diplomas. They're offered by schools like TERI, SAS, and then National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, which has postgraduate diploma in environmental law. Now, these are just a few examples that came to my mind, but I'm very sure that if you do your research, you'll find many of these across the country. And if you're participating from another country, in your country as well. And then there are sustainability certifications that certify for specific skills. These are more professional certifications. And on this slide, I will share some examples. For example, green building certifications. The Indian Green Building Council has their own. There is the WELL AP. There are different LEED certifications. The International Society of Sustainability Professionals has their own sustainability credentials, which you can, I should take a step back. When you're involved in a certification, when you sign up for a certification like this, they provide you the course content, and and you sign up for the test. So you do some self-study to read about them. There might be a few videos or lectures you can watch, and then you take up exams. So there's a whole list of them. I found this list, I've cited the source, Sustainable Careers Pathway, from Sustainability Careers advisor based in the US. So this is based from there, but most of these can be accepted in India as well, since these are internationally accepted certifications. So like Taru ma'am mentioned earlier, there is a mix of skills. So there you can be working in different areas. So if you see the keywords here, there is supply chain education, there is risk professional, there's life cycle assessment, there is waste, there is ESG investing, there's circular economy, there's water, there's sustainable infrastructure, there is events, there is green roofs. Then there is an overall certification by Greenbiz. There's one by the Charter Banker Institute. So it's not restricted to one specific technical environmental area like wastewater or air or land. You can be working in a spectrum of different areas and yet have a job that makes an impact. And some of these certifications listed here can help you start your research and help you think about which of these is something that sounds interesting to you. And you may want to pursue them in the future. Now, green jobs, if you were to work a green job or a sustainability job in a corporation, what kind of departments would a role like this would be in? Again, the most exciting thing, across departments. You could be working in product design and development. You could be working in packaging design and development, supply chain, logistics, facilities and real estate, the environmental management team, the waste management team, or the external sustainability reporting team. Now, this slide lists some of the common areas for green or sustainability jobs. Now, these are not the exact titles, but these just list some of the common, I should say, paths or areas. So there's renewable energy, there's energy markets, there's ESG, which is environment, social governance. There's ESG reporting or sustainability reporting. There's corporate social responsibility, there's policy analysis, sustainable product design, like I talked about earlier. You could work a job like that in a product design team. There's circular economy, greenhouse gas emissions reporting. There's environmental planning, environmental impact assessment, waste management, green buildings, health and safety, supply chain. And this, like I said at the start of my presentation, is these are just examples. This is not a comprehensive list. This is to help you start thinking. This is to help you start doing your research. And then I would say, note some of the terms from here and go to linkedin.com. It is a social media site for professionals if you're not aware of it. And in their jobs section, search for jobs in whichever city or country you're interested in. Just type environmental planning jobs and type it in, say, India or Bangladesh or whichever country you are participating from, and see the kind of jobs that pop up, the kind of skills they require. Look for people who are working in those kinds of jobs. Look for companies that are hiring for those kind of jobs, and start your research from there. I should say this is a slide where which Taru ma'am already covered most of these things, but I still throw them in here. And the one important one that I want to talk about is systems thinking. Now, one of the most interesting things about the environmental field is, and I should say one of the things that's most required is, environmental issues don't happen in silos, or they don't happen without being connected by, like, I should say, they don't happen in isolation, or any business decision or any daily lifestyle decision that we take personally. Nothing happens in isolation. One always affects the other, and one decision is being affected by a lot of elements around it. So the whole concept of systems thinking talks about thinking about how different systems or different elements are connected, and how your decision making or how a product or a service can affect the others. Excuse me. This is just a very high level overview of the whole concept of systems thinking, but I've provided hyperlinked here a link to the whole website on that concept. And there's communication, written and verbal, presentation, relationship management, critical thinking, especially because given how complicated, I shouldn't say complicated, given how the field of environment is, it's not, understanding environmental impact from something is not a direct clear thing. Sometimes you need to think, I shouldn't say sometimes, most of the times you need to think, you need to ask questions. You may get an answer, and sometimes you need to follow up with 5 more questions. And that's where the whole skill, the skill of critical thinking is very important. There's research, there's curiosity and analysis, which is in a way related to critical thinking. There's data analysis and project management. So most of these skills would help you in any kind of jobs, even if you don't like the idea of green jobs, you don't think that's something you would want to do. These are skills that will help you in any kind of job, anywhere in the world. And I think this is my second last slide. To grow your career, this is a constantly evolving profession. And you need to keep track of the latest developments. These are they can be regulatory, market, or research. So you need to be reading news, you need to be talking to other people, you need to just follow certain websites that provide recent developments to help you stay aware of what's happening in the field. And then the key to succeed is curiosity and lifelong informal learning. By that, I don't mean that you sign up for a degree or a program every few years. If you do that, that's great if that works for you, but most of us cannot. So what I mean by lifelong informal learning is signing up for some free courses, reading articles, reading books, reading research papers, or just having conversations with people who are working in other fields or in the same field as you, to continue to challenge yourself and to continue to learn. Because if you decide that, oh, I just did my postgraduate degree, I'm not going to learn beyond this, you may not be able to grow as much as you would want to in a field like this. And then the other thing is just network, speak to people, go to conferences, go to youth conferences or other events, participate in programs like these, and get connected with people. Use LinkedIn to reach out to professionals. Like I said, if you're interested in a job in waste management, put that on LinkedIn, find people who are working on it, just reach out. Don't ask, hey, do you have a job in this field? Instead, just ask them if they would be interested in just talking about their job. Be curious and try to understand instead of just walking up straight and asking for a job. This whole concept is called informational interviews. If you search that on your favorite search engine, you will be able to find out more about the kind of questions that you can ask and how you can set up information interviews. And then one of the key things that's helped me is mentorship. Early in my career, I was able to find someone who identified in me a few skills that could help me grow in a certain part of this profession, and helped me in other ways as well as I was trying to build out my career. So if you can find someone who can mentor you, if you can find a mentorship program, or just someone that you can go to, even if they're not your formal mentor, someone you can go to who's working in the kind of jobs that you're interested in, if you can go to them to ask some questions and just seek some career advice. And then the last, I've listed a few resources here. There's Duke University MBA Edge that has some really great resources on corporate sustainability. One of my other favorite ones is greenbiz.com. They have free newsletters for different areas, from renewable energy to circular economy to sustainable finance. They share free newsletters if you sign up on their website. They have conferences as well every few months. And even if you may not be able to attend their conferences in person, they provide free online recordings and free online live stream of some of the key sessions. There is the International Society of Sustainability Professions. If you want to be a student member, they organize some great sessions that you could participate in. And then one of my other favorite resources is free online MOOCs or massive online open learning courses on Coursera on UN Climate Change Learning Partnership. And then if interested in just following some sustainability career advice, how to grow a career, how to build a career in this field, I follow Trish Canlan. This is the website that she has, and I've also linked her LinkedIn profile here. You can just go follow her, see some of the advice she shares. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your journey. I think that shows all my young audience a way to do and participate in all the internship and project-based leadership environmental program by schools and colleges, and asking question. I think that works. Certification program surely helps in developing a skill and knowledge. Networking is also very important, as you said. And I see a lot of raised hands, students wanted to ask question. So I think I will request them to please keep writing the question to all the panelists. We will answer in a short while. And I will also share my journey that I have also done a certification course, as you told, you were telling students at my age, after joining Climate Reality, at my age, I have done it. So I'm sure the students can also do it. So I'll share the links which you will give me and the presentations from all of you with the students. So I must tell you that I also share my journey with TERI. I worked as the head of TERI school for 3 years before joining this organization. So that was my journey.
That's great to know that, ma'am.
So, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So continuing with the guiding forces, I think all of you which you have shared was very nice. It's pleasure to meet our next speaker for today is Miss Ila Balodi, the manager for Intake Education New Delhi office. From being an international students in UK guiding Indian students to choose the right course and the best university for them, ma'am possesses over 10 years of rich experience in operation, marketing and counseling. Currently, Ila ma'am is building high performance students recruitment teams and serving the need of partner across UK, North America and Australia. A passionate person about overseas education, she has helped students get the appropriate guidance for their future. So she can guide you all how to get admission abroad. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Rekha, ma'am. It's an honor actually, to be part of this panel, and I'm really thrilled to be part of this and a great work that the Climate Reality Project is doing. I'm telling you, ma'am, that this is something that I am being a panelist here, and I'm also learning so many things as a student. It's an absolute honor. The fellow panelists, they are like industry leaders. Learned professionals. So absolute honor. I'll keep my presentation a little short, and it'll be because everybody has talked about the green jobs and the options that they can avail in terms of careers. But what I'm trying to tell over here to the students is different from what. So I'm not going to use the technical jargons because definitely I'm not in a position right now to talk about that, but definitely a guiding force. So I'll just share my screen and start my presentation. I'll turn off my camera just because of bandwidth. And students, welcome again. And I hope I'll be able to help your queries at the end of this session. Thank you so much. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So a very good evening to all the member panelists and all the students and teachers who have joined us from across India and from abroad. So I would like to just tell about Intake Education in brief. So Intake Education is an overseas education consultancy. We help students in guiding their way for study abroad, not only UK, but also to other destinations like US, Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia. But today I'm going to talk about overseas education options, sustainability in United Kingdom. I'm working as a branch manager for Delhi office in Intake Education. So actually, I actually wanted to talk about the green jobs. So they are actually, everybody has spoken about it, that what it is. And as I told that, everybody has given their own definition. But what I think was that, green jobs are actually jobs with a purpose. They have a direct and a positive impact on the planet. Traditionally, it was renewable energy, electric transport, energy efficiency, and nature conservation. But now things have changed. As everybody, the co-panelist has also said that it is interdisciplinary. And I think as more sectors are transitioning into low carbon models, every job has now potential to become green. So be it environment related, be it social related, technical related, I think that's something that we all at the end of the session would agree on this, that everything is now going to be green in terms of in other departments as well. Moving on, I just want to talk about the popular UK universities which are offering sustainable oriented programs. A special mention to Scotland as a country. They have like great universities like University of Glasgow, University of Edinburgh. I'll just explain about. So in UK there are universities which are called Russell Group, and they are like top 24 universities in the UK, and which falls under top 200, top 300 worldwide. That's why they are called Russell Group universities or red brick universities. So Glasgow and Edinburgh are the Russell Group universities, and they are very famous for their research oriented programs. I'm sure that when if you decide to go, and maybe some of you have visited the UK, if anybody of you have gone to Scotland, they heavily rely on renewable resources. You will see that they're like large like windmills and all, and they are actually utilizing water energy and wind energy in a lot of the areas. Similarly, Durham, Nottingham, Exeter, Leeds, Southampton, they are also part of Russell Group universities, offering amazing sustainability oriented programs. Not only the Russell Group universities, which are top universities, there are other public universities in the UK. In fact, most of them have incorporated now some of the other modules of sustainability in their programs. Talking about it, I would just want to make you understand that what are the course options that are available in all the areas. So when you go for international education, we can send you for a UG program, a PG, or a research oriented program. So these are some few that I've recorded here, which are talking about the sustainable development. As we talk about the interdisciplinary, nature of green jobs, business, consultancy, environment, energy, green infrastructure, law. So there are many options that one can choose out of. Just wanted to take an opportunity here that undergraduate program in the UK is for 3 years. The basic bachelor's that we do here in India, similar to that, wherein the postgraduate program in the UK is for 1 year, which is a fast track program, a master's. The student can finish their programs, a master's program in 1 year, and it is recognized all across the world. Wherein, the universities, there are certain universities which are offering PG program along with 1 year of placement year. So that gives you an opportunity to have 1 year of taught studies and another year of doing your internship in the UK. Moving on, I just wanted to talk about the scholarship options for sustainability programs. Why I'm talking about this is that because UK universities are actually encouraging students to come to the UK and study these sustainability programs. For this, they're actually offering a lot of scholarships. So I've just put an example of 2 universities here, and I can give you more. Like, for example, University of Glasgow, it's there in Scotland. They have a sustainability scholarship of £5,000 for every student who enroll in any kind of environmental related programs, or if any sustainability program, any geoscience program, any supply chain program. So that's, that you can understand that that why universities are asking students to come, because of green jobs available after they finish their program. UCL is also one of a pioneer institution in the UK, which is University College London. They're also offering great scholarship for sustainable future. So there are n number of scholarships for students, for international students, available in UK universities. So they are like external scholarships like Chevening, British Council Scholarship, Great Scholarship, Commonwealth Scholarship. particularly designed for students who are actually going for environment or sustainability related programs. And it can actually reduce your fees to 50%, so which is a significant amount for an international student. Um, and also, apart from these external scholarships, there are certain the scholarships that university themselves offer, like vice chancellor excellence scholarship, or sometimes they have department wise scholarships as well. Just to give us stats here, why I'm saying is that job prospect in the UK is that when you go and study in the UK, even if you're doing an undergraduate program or a postgraduate program, after you finish your program, now after Brexit, UK has reinstated post-study work rights, which is called a graduate route, where international students are allowed to work 2 years full time in the UK. And during their studies also, they have a right to work part-time for 20 hours per week. So why I'm talking about this here is because when you do your studies, universities abroad, they actually help students to enroll themselves into internships with part-time programs related to their program, which can actually help them in fetching the job that they want to do after they finish their program. So by 2030, there would be almost 7 lakh green jobs in the low carbon and renewable energy sectors across England, which is rising to more than 1.18 million by 2050. So it shows that the enormous potential for green growth. There are the electric vehicles. One report that Mr. Boris Johnson has said that by 2035 there'll not be any vehicle running on petrol and diesel in the UK. So that's how they're working on, because we also in India are working really hard towards zero carbon emissions. But we have a target of 2070. There they have a target of 2050. So that's the reason. I mean, there's a lot of job opportunities in the UK as well, and you can actually benefit out of it. Again, I think my fellow panelists have spoken about it, that the available jobs can be broken down. So STEM, as Taru ma'am has very well explained about it, that renewable energy, technical environment roles, they are actually very, very prominent. Again, Dr. Chibber talked about corporate social responsibility and sustainability. That's very, very important. Again, sustainable finance. When I talk about this, that there'll be jobs where, again, talking about the interdisciplinary thing, there'll be jobs in finance, in supply chain. Just to give an example, so I was just reading about one of the university article. So there's a university called Cranfield University in Bedfordshire. They have actually incorporated sustainability module in each of the program, like be it a supply chain management program, be it a business management program. They want students to actually have that part, to have that understanding of why it is important, how they can relate it to the green jobs in the future. When you do these kind of programs, you have a lot of career options like energy efficiency experts, environmental officers. So local agencies and government agencies, there are a lot of NGOs working towards it. You can work as an engineer consultant, program officers, and there are n number of other jobs available for international students. Moving on, I really wanted to talk about this, that because a lot of universities are actually working towards it. Universities have their own incubation center where they actually fund a lot of startups in the university. I think Mr. Narendra Modi and our Prime Minister and Boris Johnson have actually spoken about so many green projects working together. So that's the reason I think that's the reason I've picked up UK as a destination, because both the governments are really working hard towards the green projects. And where you take wind energy research, electric mobility, we see that a lot of EV vehicles are there in India right now. A lot of vocational trainings are happening. So a few days back only, I got a invite from one of the universities of the UK, that is SOAS London. and they are actually designing one short certificate program with the National University of Delhi here, wherein the students will be able to certify themselves on climate change law. So that's also that universities are working together. And I think everybody has spoken about the new education policy. So what they're doing is that they are actually they are working towards a mutual recognition of qualification. I think one of the panelists mentioned that there are certificates, there are distance learning programs, but unfortunately right now some of the universities don't accept the distance learning or some certifications from India. So but then when we have the accreditation matched or the mutual recognition of qualification by the end of 2022, that will not be a problem, and everything from India would be acceptable. And once the students finishes their degree from the UK, they can always come back to their home country and work here. They are also actually working really hard in two-way mobility for greater number of students, teachers, and researchers towards the green jobs and towards the green projects. Also, climate change, clean energy, urban development, waste to wealth is something that they're actually very, very focused on. Even the universities in the UK, they have their own student bodies, they have student groups, societies, which are working towards waste management, food management. These are something that, as I told in the beginning also, that they have their own incubations startup. And not only the university, but the government also funds those projects, which can actually lead to a lot of job prospects going forward. I would quickly want to take an opportunity, just that how we as an intake can help you guiding your, paving your way. So we are a one-stop solution, and we can help you for your application, for applying for scholarships, for your visa. So you don't have to go anywhere. It's just that you need to contact us, and we can help you in, picking up the right university and the right program suitable for you. So at the end, I really like to thank all of you, and I really want to thank Rekha ma'am especially for organizing this, and it's an absolute pleasure, ma'am, to be part of this, this webinar. Please do not forget that the earth is what we all have in common. So please go green. And I really like the concept of green ring, ma'am. So I would also request you to pass one to me as well. And thank you so much for this opportunity again. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ila. Thank you. I think you have to do climate reality training. I'll pass on the message. So Mr. El Gore is going to take that training for you. For anyone, those who want to join in, even my young ones, those who are watching us, they can do that. So if you want the students to contact you, you can share your contact details in the chat so that they can do that. And if they have any question, students, please write down the questions in the chat box. We will take up shortly, just after 20 minutes. So thank you, ma'am, for introducing the UK universities. I think I can see a lot of courses which students can take up with the Indian government, also working in coordination with us for strengthening the NEP. So thank you, ma'am. Please put in all your details so that the students, those who want, they can directly talk to you. So our next speaker is Mr. Nikhil Kamath. Mr. Nikhil Kamath is an author, brand strategist from New Delhi. Sir has been writing about food and travel since 2011 and loves to capture stories and cultures across India. Mr. Kamath has mentored over 700,000 students in schools and colleges across India, having taught content writing, storytelling, personal branding, and communication. He has represented India at various international forums as well. He has been the climate ambassador for Global Youth Climate Network at the World Bank Group, and was also a part of peer review team for the youth engagement strategy launched by Climate Investment Bank. So kids, hold tight as Mr. Kamath will talk on communication skills, interview skills, and professionalism. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Rekha ma'am, for inviting me for this panel. And it's actually so good to be here. I mean, I got to learn so much from my co-speakers, co-panelists. In fact, earlier this week, I was at the Climate Reality office and I was talking to Aditya sir. Hey, sir, I need to do some, course or, some higher study in this. And but so many options, so much of information today from my co-panelists. So thank you so much, everyone, for that. And very good evening to all the students who are present here. And well, thank you for spending this evening with all of us. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you how to build your own brand, build yourself as a brand, and how to communicate in the best way possible. And this will help you, with your education, with your jobs, and everything in life, because communication is very important. How you communicate with others is very important. So yeah, so I'll share my screen and okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah, is my screen visible now?
No.
No. Okay. Wait.
Now, yes.
Now is it? Okay. Great. What is happening?
It is
Okay.
visible now.
Yes, great. I'll probably have to switch off my camera because otherwise, my laptop will just
No problem.
go crazy.
No
So, all right. So communication and storytelling for brand you. You and everyone here has their own brand. It's all about how you communicate your brand to others. There's this film called Gabbar is Back, starring Akshay Kumar, and in that the villain, his name is Digvijay Patil, and the one dialogue that has stuck with me, and this movie released when I was in first year of college, and after that I started doing branding and communications. So this guy says, Digvijay Patil सिर्फ नाम नहीं है, brand है. So, and he's actually right. I mean, that name in that film is actually a big brand. And similarly, we come across so many people like Shah Rukh Khan, people like Ankur Wariku, people like, so many people are there whose names are enough. Ki yaar naam le liya and you're sorted. Ki this person knows stuff. So similarly, how do you build your own brand? How do you create your own strategy? How we are going to proceed with this little session is when I ask you a question, you type your answers in the chat box. If you have any questions to ask to me, type it in the Q&A box. So that's very simple. And here we go. I'm going to move on to my next slide. All right. Yes. Effective communication. For effective communication, you need to answer 5 questions. Firstly, who are you? You need to be clear of who you are, what you're doing, and once you have answered that question, you need to be clear of what your communication style is going to be. Every brand, every person has their own communication style. Like when I work with Climate Reality, we have our own communication style. When I work with some other companies, we develop a communication style so that when we reach out to someone, when we reach out to an individual or to another organization, through our style of communication, they should be able to know, okay, this is an email, or this is a communication from Climate Reality, or this is from some other organization, or this is from someone else. So that style of communication has to be clear. Then you should be clear on what do you want to say. Many times I work with some youth groups, youth organizations, college societies, and when I receive a communication, an email or Instagram DM or some LinkedIn message from them, sometimes I find it very difficult to figure out what they are trying to say, and that can hamper your brand and your strategy of communication also. So having that clarity of what you want to say should be there, and you should also know what's the impact you wish for it to have. It can be asking for a in-person meeting with someone, or maybe getting on a Zoom call with someone, or maybe you're just saying that can we explore a possibility of your organization collaborating with our organization. What is the impact you're trying to have with that communication? What is the result you're trying to have with that communication? And then of course, what's your picture of success? Success for different people is different. Success for different strategies is different. So if you are reaching out to someone, saying, asking for say an informal interview or a discussion, or maybe an in-person meeting, your picture of success might be getting that meeting, or if you're trying to reach out to someone to invite to them for a panel discussion, like all of us panelists were invited by Rekha ma'am to be a part of this panel. So maybe the picture of success is the panelists accepting that invitation to be a part of this panel. So that is where you answer these 5 questions and where your communication becomes effective. Now, let me open my chat box also here. Let me see. Okay. Can you all tell me what you see on your screens right now? This image that you see on your screen, what is it? Can you tell me in the chat box? And then I will just, a clothes hanger, a hanger. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Okay, so you all see a hanger. Okay, it's a clothes hanger. It's a clothes hanger. Okay. But the idea is you focus when you're communicating. When you're communicating, you only focus on the hook. This part, the hook. The hook is basically what brings people to you, how people get hooked to you. So whenever you are telling a story, whenever telling an experience, whenever you are communicating with someone that, hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you, this is what I want, and this is how we can work. Anyone who is reading your email, anyone who is reading your message, your communication, or who is on a call with you or on a Zoom call in an in-person meeting with you, should be able to stay hooked to what you are saying. Like so many of you have stayed here till this point. It's almost 2 hours into this panel discussion that we've been having, these sessions that we've been having, and so many of you have stayed here till this point. That is because you have been hooked by all the speakers who are here, and you have been listening to all of us and me, whatever we have been sharing. And the hook is a very important part. And how do you create your own hook? How do people like look at your profile, look at your work, and say, hey, this is the person I want to work with, this is the person I want to invite for a speaking engagement, this is the person I want to talk to my students. How do you create your own hook? This is how you do it. Here are some examples of some personalities that I follow, that I really admire. Like this is Chef Saransh Goela, and this is his Twitter bio. Basically, I just took a screenshot of it. It says chef, TV show host, entrepreneur, author of India on My Platter. For any brand inquiry, you need to contact this person. So that's the clarity. Saransh Goela is a chef. He's also a TV show host. He's an entrepreneur, and he runs a big brand called Goela Butter Chicken. And he is the author of India on My Platter, which is a very, very nicely written book. So this is what he does. Similarly, here we have Ankur Wariku, who is again a very popular entrepreneur, now a very popular content creator, and a teacher also. So his bio just says entrepreneur, founder of nearby.com, teacher, content creator, and he also tells you what he does every Friday. He writes a thread on Twitter every Friday, a thread about the mistakes he made in his 20s, a thread about mistakes he made in his 40s, a thread about how do you maintain relationships with people, different threads, different topics. He covers them through writing Twitter threads. This is where he gives you a promise that, okay, every Friday, if you come to my page, you will find a new thread about a new topic that I like to talk about. This is the hook that he's creating. Let's move on to another person that I really like, I admire and I really, follow closely, is Lisipriya Kangujam. She's 10 years old. I recently met her. I met her last week, in fact, and she's doing great work. She's an environmentalist. She's the founder of Child Movement. She's raised by a single mother. She's a Ryanite, so that's probably Ryan International School, and that's how she has created her hook. That she is an indigenous environmental and climate activist. So that's the hook she has created. And here we also have Ranveer Shori. He's a very popular actor. I don't know how many of you know him, but he does not do a lot of movies these days. But yeah, when I was growing up, he was doing a lot of movies. So his Twitter bio, his hook is quite funny actually. He says, "Sad but true. I tweet, I delete, I talk, I block." So I mean, he's just trying to be funny. He's a comedian. He's a comedy actor. He's a humorist. Then he says, "Full-time actor, sometimes songwriter, lifelong humorist." So he's just telling you what he does. in a very interesting way. So the hook is basically telling people what you do in a very interesting way and how do you figure out what you do. Your hook is your personal brand story. For this, you need to know what you are good at. What you are good at. Like figuring out figuring out many things in my life is basically other people telling me that, hey, you're good at this, you should do this. So for me, storytelling is something that I really enjoy. Then another thing is I love to discover hidden recipes and come across cultures that we have in our country. I so storytelling is one thing I'm good at. Another thing is probably crisis management, because I've worked in events and all. So crisis management is something that I'm good at. And another thing is team building. So these are the three things where which I'm good at, and how I've built my personal brand around these three things. Once you know what you're good at, you also need to know your audience, people who are going to reach out to you, maybe on social media, people who are going to reach out to you for work purposes, people who might say that, hey, you are good at this, we want you to work for us. So know those people, what kind of people you want to work with, and know your promise. Like I showed you how Ankur Wariku has said, every Friday I post a thread on Twitter. Similarly, there's an actor named Josh Peck. He was in this series called Drake and Josh. It was a very popular series on Nickelodeon, and he posts YouTube videos every Wednesday. So he has put it on his YouTube channel that find a vlog on my channel every Wednesday. So that's a promise that people look forward to. So what can people look forward to when they are working with you, or when they are reaching out to you on social media, or when they are coming to your page on social media broadly, because social media is where most of our work is happening these days. Is know your promise. Offline, if you're working with someone, know your promise, what you are going to offer them, what are they looking for, and what you are going to offer them. That is your promise. This is my hook. Basically, I just want to put it out there. I also want to share, like, I would put in a lot of effort in designing this Instagram bio for myself. So I just want to share it with all of you. So my Instagram bio basically tells you that I love a good adventure and I love a good cup of coffee. Adventure of a lifetime in a coffee cup. Adventure of a lifetime is also a Coldplay song that I really enjoy listening to. So it's like become a sort of a ritual for me, that whenever I'm doing a public speaking engagement, or whenever I'm um, maybe writing a new story or going for a very important meeting, I just keep on listening to that song. It's just like uh, my happy place or something. So adventure of a lifetime in a cup of coffee, in a coffee cup. Why is it also adventurous? Because a coffee cup can be very adventurous if you like deep dive into it, like not into your coffee cup, but where your coffee comes from, which estate it comes from, what kind of coffee is it, what's the roast level, and all these things. So uh, that's the adventure. And then I tell people I build brands through stories, and I can tell your story too. So I'm telling people that I work with small businesses, I work with individuals, I work with um, NGOs and other local organizations. I build their brands through stories, and I can also tell your story. So that if people come to me, I can help them tell their story. And lastly, I mentor with an organization called My Captain. So I tell people that, hey, I do this also. The hook, coming back to our clothes hanger, apart from the hook, what other three things are important is the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. Here, what we are basically doing is um, every story, any story you tell, be it a fictional story, be it a personal experience, be it anything, even if you're reaching out to someone over email, everything will have the hook, of course, but it will also have a setup, conflict, and resolution. For example, when I started off writing about food and travel, how I started off was basically I really enjoyed exploring different restaurants, different cuisines, different cultures. So my cousin told me, hey, you should write about food. I said, okay, yeah, that's that's something I can do, and creating a blog is not very difficult. So I just created a food blog, I started writing about it, I started writing about travel, and that's my setup. The conflict in my story is, hey, I was a student at that time. I was in class 10th when I started writing about food, and I of course did not have a lot of money in my pocket. I used to spend all my pocket money on food. So, and that was the constraint that I was having. That was the conflict. Like, how do I write more? How do I do something more with less? And the resolution was basically I started doing freelance work. I started doing freelance. I actually started doing freelance when I was in first year of college, and ever since I've been doing that. I really enjoy being my own boss. And my resolution was, hey, if I work with multiple organizations at the same time, I can make a, a sizable amount of money, and I can have all these hobbies and all these interests which can be sustained if I do this. So that's my resolution. So every story you tell, be it a brand story, be it your own story, be it a personal experience, or be it someone else's experience, anything will have a hook, a setup, a conflict, and a resolution. But the clarity always comes from the hook. Moving forward, yes, brand storytelling is basically understanding what your values are and understanding what the customers or your clients values are, and then building a bridge connecting both your values, like what I stand for and what another organization stands for, and then building a bridge between that, finding a synergy between that. That is what brand storytelling means: connecting your brand to customers with a focus on linking what you stand for and the values you share with your customers. So suppose I so there's a coffee brand called Blue Tokai that I really like. You can call me a Blue Tokai loyalist, but I really appreciate that brand for their sustainable initiatives and all. And they are like really into it. So they help their coffee plantations, coffee planters, and uh, coffee is something that is being affected by climate change. Coffee harvest is being affected by climate change, and they are taking a lot of sustainable measures to help these planters, help the coffee estates, and how they have built a whole ecosystem around it. So that's something I appreciate, and that's why I always love to have a cup of coffee from Blue Tokai. So I stand for sustainability. Blue Tokai also stands for sustainability broadly, and that's where the synergy is. That's why I follow that brand. That's what brand storytelling is all about. For you, how you can create your own brand story, how you can build stories on different things, is start off with just 3 qualities about yourself. Like I told you, storytelling was one thing for me. uh, Storytelling, crisis management, and team building, these were 3 qualities. And wherever I go, whenever I'm doing different sessions, especially on storytelling, I always tell a story on either one of these 3 qualities. I have a story on, I have like multiple stories on crisis management. I have stories on team building. I have stories on storytelling also. Like the first, my first book that I wrote was actually a story that came to me when I was traveling in a DTC bus. I was traveling back home from my college, and I just got this idea that, hey, I want to write this story, and this is what I should do. And that's how I came up with the whole plot for my story. And similarly, there's a story about on crisis management. When I was in school, I was in a band. I was in a band. Most people join a band after they are in college, but I was in school and I was also in a rock band. And one day we were going for a performance, and while transporting our equipment, we forgot the cymbals for our drums. And if our drum kit does not have cymbals, it will not be effective. So how do you manage that crisis? I ended up getting a steel thali, and we drilled a hole in it, and then we used that in place of the cymbals for the drums. So these are different stories that I tell people. I'm telling these in short, but I'm better at storytelling. Much better than this. So take 3 qualities about yourself you want to build stories around. So think about this. You might be like, you might be great at team building and say, hey, this is we worked on a project I worked on a project with my friends, and this is the whole story about it. This was very adventurous and all that. So think about these 3 qualities, note them down, and start building stories around them. Building stories as in telling your personal experiences. um, A story without a tag or a purpose is an anecdote fast forgotten. Of course, if your story does not have a moral to it, like a takeaway to it, it people will forget it very easily. So for a story to stick with people, there has to be a takeaway. Like for me, this whole session, these whole 2 hours are going to stick with me forever, because there's so many takeaways that I got from my co-panelists. So much of information I got, and it's always good to get this information. I mean, this is my second time in this summer program. I did a session last year also, and last year I learned so much. This year I learned so much, and it's always good to keep coming back here to learn so much. So I keep coming back just because there's a selfish motive also, that I also get to learn a lot of things. So whenever you're telling a story, please always make sure you have a takeaway at the end. Your audience, your clients, anyone, your customers have a takeaway at the end, because without a takeaway, your story will be forgotten, and you don't want that to happen. Your brand will be forgotten if you don't give them a takeaway. This is one slide that I want all of you to focus on. It's very important, because nowadays we write a lot of emails, and I receive a lot of emails which are sometimes not framed properly, and then I don't engage with those emails. So how do you do this? In an email, there's the first part is the subject, and it's the trickiest part. Like, what do we write in the subject? Even I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm writing an email, I've written a whole email, I don't know what to write in the subject. Write a subject. The subject should sound like an opportunity, not like a sales proposal. Don't make it sound like a sales proposal. Make the subject sound like an opportunity. Only then the person receiving the email will click on it. Oh, this is an opportunity, let's see. Yeah. And don't make it like spammy or something. Don't make it look like spam. Just give them a true and honest opportunity. Now, after the subject, of course, writing an email is important. The body of the email is very important. So always start your email by introducing yourself. Always introduce yourself first. If you don't introduce, so many people, they write emails, they don't introduce themselves. I will not know who you are if you don't introduce yourself. And the little signature at the end, it does not work. You have to introduce yourself. And then, of course, personalize your email with a simple trick called show me you know me. Show me you know me is basically like, do your thorough research about the person you are contacting. Very simple. Stalk them on LinkedIn, stalk them on Instagram, Facebook, all over, Google, everywhere. So just gather all information about them and tell them that, okay, you are doing this, I am doing this, can we find a way to collaborate? Something like that. So tell them that you have, like, show them that you have done enough research about them, and that's the reason why you are approaching that particular person. Introduce your offering. Tell them, okay, this is what I do, this is what I have done. Add credibility through an example. So whenever I'm approaching someone, I tell people that, hey, I'm a brand strategist, I've worked with multiple small businesses, individuals, NGOs, and these are some brands I've worked with. These are the results I have achieved for them. I would like to explore an opportunity to work with you. I know this is your goal. This is what I want to do. Can we maybe get on a Zoom call, or can we have an in-person meeting to discuss this? The last part, like to have a meeting, in-person meeting, or a Zoom meeting, or a phone call, is the strong CTA you need. A CTA is a call to action. That's basically asking someone to do something. So all you need to do with your email is, subject should be an opportunity, not a sales proposition. The email, firstly, introduce yourself, personalize it, introduce your offering, add credibility, sum up your offering with the goal of that organization or that individual you're reaching out to, and of course a very strong call to action, so that there are further communications between your organization and the other organization. This is how you frame a nice email. You can take a screenshot of this if you want. I mean, any of my slides, if you want to take a screenshot of, you can. I mean, sorry for telling this so late, but I hope you're taking notes also. And yeah, now I'm open to answering your questions, and also I'm very social. Yeah, so you can follow me Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. This is my handle and my hashtag. So yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your time. I'm going to stop sharing right here. And yes.
Thank you, Nikhil sir. Although I think I haven't seen the movie which you said, but I will surely try to build my name as well. Nami Coffee, I think I'll stay that stays with me. So thank you so much for sharing everything. So I think I'm sure all my young fellows, they have learned a lot from this session. And if you might be having a lot of questions, I know a lot of you were raising hands. So put them in the chat box, and I request all the esteemed speaker to answer them. So the first question I have picked up from the chat box is how green skill improves in protecting and restoring ecosystem and human health. Any of my panelists can answer those.
Well, I think.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Please, please.
Okay, well, I think that's a very critical and very important question. Okay, okay, what is a green job? Since we have been, I think, speaking about a green job for almost 2 weeks now, as I understand it. Very simple, a green job is a job which actually contributes to preserving the environment and does not contribute in creating further climate change or further pollution in the air or waste generation, anything which is harmful to the environment. Now, if we take the simple definition, then that means any kind of job where you are protecting your ecosystem, your biodiversity, where you are using the efficient or renewable energy, that means you are reducing your carbon footprint. That means you are not part of the problem, you are the part of the solution. So it is as simple as that. Climate green jobs actually encourage climate protection or try to mitigate and adapt to climate change or climate emergency, as we are talking about. And it does not further contribute to pollution. So that means you are, instead of being part of the problem, you are part of the solution. So that's why green job becomes very important. Further, when we talk about pollution, some of you are in Delhi. I'm sure all the parts of the world, including our friends in Bangladesh, since I've been working on that, so I know we are dealing with environmental problems. But let us talk about Delhi, because I'm right now in Delhi. In Delhi, we have this humongous problem of air pollution. Now, if you want to be part of the solution, then you will try that this air pollution is not there for us in future, or at least we do something about to mitigate it. So that means a green job will help in mitigating this air pollution so that we breathe normal air, so that we, our elderly people or the younger generation, they do not suffer from problems like asthma. Again, I don't know, students, if you are aware of that, but air pollution, which is something which many people take for granted, air pollution actually kills, and it kills people. It has killed people across the world, including in India. So that is the impact, severe impact that we have of air pollution. Similarly, climate change, many of you are aware, it has health impact in terms of cancer or other such diseases. So that means if you're contributing, working towards a green job, that means you're contributing to a better environment, to a better health, to a better lifestyle, which is not only for you, but for your family, for your society, for your country, and across the world. Since we have been talking about one world, we have been talking about networking, we have talking about problems like climate change or climate emergency. It's not confined to one particular country, but it's a problem that throughout the world we are facing. So this is the crux of the issue, that a green job, it contributes to a better, a sustainable society, a society worth living in, a life worth enjoying.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So I think, Nikhil sir, there are so many students, those who are saying that they are very happy with your presence here, and this is the second session they are attending. So I think Sarthak Sharma is writing. and the rest of them also, I think, recognize you. So they are saying that 3 qualities you have to say which they require for getting a green job or their own branding, I think they are asking.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Sarthak. He is, I think, attending my session for the second time. And the 3 qualities I would probably say, these have to be 3 skills that you're good at. I mean, everybody is good at something. At least, if not one thing, then there are multiple things. So, like, some people are good at public speaking. Some people are good at graphic designing or art in general. Some people are great singers, or some people are great with music. So there are people who are creating music to communicate the issue of climate change. There are people who are writing songs on climate change. So these can be your skills. Identify that. Some people are talking about, like, one of our colleagues at Climate Reality, she's you know championing the cause of animal rights and veganism and all of that. So she's got great knowledge about that. She's talking about that. She's built her brand around that. So these are things. Firstly, you need to figure out, do you enjoy talking about this particular thing? For me, when I started writing about food, I really enjoyed talking about food. So I said, okay, I can start building on that. So first thing is, figure out what you enjoy the most, and can you do it for a longer period of time. Only then you'll be able to build your brand around it. So that's one thing. Apart from that, the rest of the 2 things will be your skills and probably, networking. I mean, talk to a lot of people. Like, even I think Miss Shweta said, network with a lot of people. Attend youth conferences. There are so many youth conferences happening online and offline, now offline. So talk to people. I mean, when you talk to people, you get to know their stories, and then you can, find a synergy that, oh, you've been through this, even I've been through this, let's start working towards this. Something like that. If somebody has had an experience with, water shortage or water crisis, and then another person has also had this similar experience but has some, maybe a solution towards it, and then both people can, join their hands and collaborate and work towards it. I see someone is also writing, could you repeat conflict and setup?
Yeah.
So conflict is basically what is stopping you from achieving your goal, and setup is basically where you start from, why you start, and what makes you actually jump into that particular topic. So yeah, like, in simplest of terms, that is setup, and conflict is the challenge you are experiencing in whatever you are doing. In professional terms, like, apart, if in storytelling terms, conflict is basically the problems your protagonist is experiencing in that story. Like, there's a villain in the story, and that protagonist is, having some problems. So something like in Ramayana, like, protagonist is Ram and villain is Ravan, and conflict is Ravan has kidnapped Sita. That is the conflict. So that's conflict in storytelling terms.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I think, Shweta ma'am, there is a question for you. What is the meaning of TERI School of Advanced Studies, SAS? I think you mentioned, and they want to know. Tanvi wants to know it. And Taru ma'am, I think, has answered so many questions. Thank you, Taru ma'am, for answering.
Yeah, I was the first speaker, and I thought that it's better to utilize time.
Good. So Shweta ma'am, please answer that question. What is the meaning of TERI School of Advanced Studies?
TERI School of Advanced Studies is a deemed to be university. They have a campus in New Delhi. They primarily have postgraduate level programs. So MSc in Environmental Studies, MSc Climate Science Policy, MSc in Geoinformatics. They also have an MSc in Biotechnology. They have MTech programs in Renewable Energy Management. They also have PhD program in Natural Resources Management. They also have MSc in Water Science, I believe. And they also have some postgraduate diploma programs on renewable energy, water science, etc. If you go to any search engine, for example, Google, and type TERI SAS, Taru ma'am has provided the link to the university. You can all access, see their website there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There is a question, ma'am, can aerial engineering sector jobs be counted as green jobs? Anyone can take it, and you all. Ma'am, you are not audible, you are on mute. Bharti ma'am?
Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would say students, you can make a green job out of any job. As simple as that. Assuming you are going through your college, your school, for that matter, your job, if it is manageable, why take a car? Why don't you walk? Or at the maximum, why don't you take a bicycle? So that means it's a green job. That means you are reducing your carbon footprint. And as far as aerial engineering is concerned, yes, definitely. Why not? It's very critical when you talk about any engineering, and for that matter, even in aerial engineering, you work out the technical and the economic aspects, and you ensure that it works on the new renewable energy. For that matter, the wind farms or the solar installations, or even the hydro or the marine power. Similarly, again, you ensure that the installation or the running of the renewable energy, it meets the environmental standards and the environmental laws, not to create further pollution. So yes, you can make any job a green job. And if you allow me, Rekha, there are two more questions which I just saw, if I can take them. One
Sure,
was,
sure.
yeah, thank you. One was on about online courses. Well, yes, students, in the new education policy, especially after your 11, you have to give, or 12 till this batch you have 12. So after that, the present batch, you have common entrance exam at the university level. So once you clear that exam, then you'll have a 4-year courses. And although you're free to leave anytime, you can leave after 2 years, you can leave after 3 years, and accordingly you'll get a degree. And if you leave after the 4th year, you'll get a degree of graduation, a research degree, because the 4th year is on research. So that means in the 4th year, you can work on any research area, including environmental issues, which is a very wide area. You can work on an science topic related to environment, for example, marine pollution or biodiversity, or you can work on something like environmental laws, since it's a multidisciplinary, no clear demarcation between humanities and commerce and sciences, as I told you earlier. So within this framework, you have 40%, that means out of 100, 40% of your coursework can be done online. That means 40% of your credits that you require to complete your degree, you can finish it online. And these are available on the MOOC platform, that is Massive Open Online courses. And many of these courses are on environment, including environmental studies, environment management, and even special courses or specified areas, for example, on biodiversity and others. Since we have designed these courses, so once you are on you have taken admission in any of the universities, then feel free to take 40% advantage of these courses on any of the aspects, or perhaps many of the aspects of the environmental issues. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think another question is there any certificate course for 12th standard?
Okay, again, I'll take that. I'm sure others may add. Well, students, one, if you're in school till 12th now and 11th next year onwards, so one, I'm sure your school is doing some kind or the other kind of certificate courses already. But if they're not doing that, then I'm sure Dr. Rekha ji बताएंगे आप. We have certain green school programs. And also as climate reality leader and as a university professor, I myself have designed many courses for schools and universities related to environment. And once the student completes, earlier they were offline courses, now for the last 2 years we were taking it online. Then of course students can get certificates. But for that, your teachers or your principal have to get it.
If I may add there, I talked about MOOCs, and Dr. Bharti also talked about them. You can always take them, even like no matter what class you are in. You could be in like 8th standard, 9th standard, 12th standard. You could be in college. You could be in mid-career, in your 40s, your 50s, even 60 or 70-year-olds. So MOOCs, you can take them anytime. Some of them require a fee to get the actual certificate. But for most of them, you can at least get learn the content, but you may not be able to get the certificate without paying. But there are some platforms like the UN Climate Partnership one that I mentioned in my slides that you can get them for free. Like you can do the courses and get the certifications for free.
Thank you, ma'am. One last question I'm taking that says that is for everyone. There are so many things good at, but I don't know where I am good at writing. Good at many things, but what is the good? How to identify one thing that I am good at? I think all of us face that. All of us face that.
If I may start answering that question, I would say, for me, when I was in school, what really inspired me to look at the field of environment as an area was reading newspapers, reading books, or just talking to people. I think that really helped me understand. I remember when I was in school, I used to read newspaper articles about waste management issues that the city of New Delhi was facing, and water and wastewater and all those other issues that any big city faces. And reading about that and thinking about what my skills are, that really helped me understand, this is an area. So I think you have to ask yourself, like, what is it that you're most interested in? By, say you could be scoring the best grades in a certain course in school, but outside of school, there could be something else that you could be spending your time on. It could be literature, it could be physics, you could be, there are some students who are interested, who like to open up little electronic devices at their home. So what is it that your mind is really interested in when you have the free time? I think, like in my case, it was reading newspaper articles about these urban environmental issues. So I think that is where you could start. Like, what is that brings you joy? That's what I would say to answer that question, but that's a great question.
Thank you, ma'am. Any last one question or one answer or one thought you want to leave with for my students? All of you, one by one, any one thing you want to tell them.
Since I spoke last, I'll answer that first, if that's okay. Something that's really helped me throughout my career, and I think I will continue to do that, is continue to be curious, ask questions. You might have heard there's no question that's stupid. I've been in situations, I've been in classrooms, been in like both of my master's programs. A professor explains something, I didn't get that. I'll ask a question. It may sound like the stupidest question, but if you don't get something, ask questions. People like to be asked questions because that shows that you were listening, that you were not just hearing, you were listening, and that you're showing interest. Even if you think, that person, that panelist or that speaker, they're so much senior, they wouldn't like to hear a question from a school student or a college student like me. No, it's absolutely the opposite. I can tell you from my experience in the youth conferences that I attended with TERI and other organizations, speakers love questions, especially if you're a school or college student. So be curious, keep asking questions, and keep learning. If you continue to do these things, you can have a very happy and fulfilling career.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Taru ma'am. One last thing you could tell them.
Yeah. Just wanted to tell all the students that, in my 15 years of career, I mean, how I was also a management graduate, and with a well-paying corporate job. I left all of it because I didn't enjoy it. I think one thing that really was with me throughout my journey was that I was very empathetic to the development scenario in the country. And I started my career after leaving my corporate job. I started my career with a little stint on rural development, and I was working with development alternatives. So I think that empathetic, instinct within me has helped me where I am right now. And when it comes to your background, educational background, I think you find connections everywhere. So say for example, if I was a marketing student, and selling and branding was my core thematics. So when now I'm teaching students, then also I feel that I'm selling my concepts, I'm selling my ideas, and I have to be a saleable person when I'm talking something, so that the person concerned listens to me and agrees with what I say. So so there are interconnections everywhere. One has to be empathetic and find solutions and interconnections everywhere. So that's my last thought to all this.
Thank you, ma'am. That was great. Ila ma'am, you want to share one last thought with my students?
I think, yeah, it was a lovely experience. So I would just want to say that, be yourself, think green, and let's save the planet.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Nikhil sir, any one thing? I think you can connect with Taru ma'am, and you can share your experiences on branding and marketing, which she, I think, will give you something, and you can always give it to her.
Yes, for sure. I mean, for the students, I want to tell them that I'll tell something out of my freelancing experience is that out of the 7 days in the week, sometimes you'll have 6 bad days, but one good day, and it's always the one good day that matters. So like, don't let the 6 bad days like let you down, because you cannot have like every day cannot be a good day for you. So just know that fact, and just don't lose hope. Ki, Arey, I've had 6 bad days, what am I going to do? It's never going to be the end of the world. There's always something better, there's always a next opportunity. So yeah, don't give up at the first sign of trouble. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So I think students, you can hang in there. Just sir said about the hanger concept. So hang in there. Yes, ma'am, Bharti ma'am, one last thing for my students.
Well, I think I'll start with one final question. One student, she wrote about the Olympiad. So students, you can take it at any level. Whichever class you are in, you'll have the same competitors. If you are in 10th, you'll have the competitors from 10th. If you're in 11th, you'll have the competitors from 11th. So you need not be worried about whether it's the 10th, 11th, or 12th. You'll have the competitors at the same level. You can take it in any class. That is one. Secondly, absolutely wonderful co-panelists. Great to meet Taru, Ila, and Nikhil, and Shweta, and of course, Rekha and I. We have been in association for almost 2+ years now. And students, I would say that best of luck to everyone. Absolutely wonderful to meet students from India and from Bangladesh. And great work that the teachers are doing there. I would say that something from my own experience. Trust me, you'll find your calling. It need not necessarily be that you'll find your calling or the area you want to pursue your higher studies, or even if you want to go in sports, in music. I mean, studies has become multifaceted. I mean, you can go into music, you can go into sports, you can go into higher learning or teaching. I would say learning and teaching is a lifelong experience. I'm a teacher, but I also learn. So you never stop learning, whatever your level of professional achievement is there. And I'll say that don't be confined to one particular area. You may be very good in studies, but try your hands in something else. Perhaps societal work, care work. You can work with certain NGOs or give some care work to elderly people, or perhaps a very small thing that help elderly in your family, in your building when you go downstairs. I mean, these things not only they give you positive vibes, but as Nikhil was saying, if your day is going bad, trust me, do something positive like this, and it just lifts your spirit up. And also, in my experience, I have been a playwright, I've been a musician, I have been a singer, a professional dancer, I'm an academic. So I would say that try your hands, and one day in the sense 10th, 11th, 12th, or even after your graduation, as perhaps one of the panelists also shared, she diversified, perhaps Shweta and others, even Taru, they diversified their fields, So this is a learning experience. You will ultimately know what is your calling, whether you want to work in environmental field or for that matter, any other field. And as I said earlier, make that field also a green job, green career. That will be a great work for the society. And my final words would be, make your profession what is your passion, or in other words, make your passion your profession. Trust me, if it is otherwise, you'll not enjoy it. But if your passion is the environment, which I believe should be, since you have joined it, or perhaps you will come to know in a few years from now, then make it your profession. It will be very fruitful, very satisfying for you at the end of it. I'll stop with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I think, Taru, ma'am, you want to say about the Olympiad? The students were asking. You have, I think, mentioned in the chat as well.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, my
Olympiad.
computer got hanged.
Okay, no
so
problem.
basically, just to let the students know that there are several Olympiads subject-wise, TERI does Green Olympiad. And it's a 20-year-old program that we conduct, very, very dear to our hearts. So the registration for classes 4th to 12th and for college students, both post-graduation and undergrads, it's starting in mid-July. And I've mentioned a link in the chat box. If you're interested, please go through the link, and you can apply there.
Even our Bangladesh students can participate.
Yeah. It's for across the world. I mean, we take participation from international students as well.
So students, you can participate in it. So I thank all the panelists, students, teachers for taking out your precious time and being here with us. And I think the students, they will again meet the next Saturday. So I think we have consecutively 4 Saturdays where we are meeting. So the homework also for students now, that you have to make an assignment and interview your grandparents, parents, teachers or mentors, and submit it to your teachers, and we will take the best one in our next program on Saturday. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here and guiding our students. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.